You address Kempf of the royal family of Frigga. Mind your manners.
Reinhardt's #1 fan is here. Kemp is from Thracia's 776, and as he will tell you himself, the man hates Reinhardt. In a funny turn of events, Reinhardt has risen to insane levels of popularity in Fire Emblem Heroes, so Kemp would probably be absolutely livid at this. Still, at least half of that popularity is more notorious in nature, so I think Kemp is going to fit in just fine. As a unit, he is a Sword Cavalier, a class which I realized is a bit more interesting than I thought, and we'll talk about this more later on. For his stats, Kemp has 42 HP, 33 attack, 33 speed, 27 defense, and 26 resistance. Pretty balanced around the board. 33 attack and speed isn't crazy by any means, but both are workable should you want to invest in either one. His 42 HP, 27 defense, and 26 res allow him to take both physical and magical damage hits, although those aren't super tanky numbers. Kemp will allow for a lot of different build types with these stats. Whether you want to go for into more offense or put points into defense, he should be able to perform a variety of roles. However, unlike some of our other free-to-play units, Kemp won't just be relegated to builds that any unit can use. He brings with him the Venin Edge, a 16-mite sword that is pretty unique. First off, Venin Edge will grant a flat +3 defense, so that brings Kemp up to 30 defense with it equipped. After combat, if Kemp makes an attack, he deals 10 damage to the target and foes within 2 spaces, and inflicts status on those foes, preventing counterattacks through their next actions. Okay, so Venin Edge is following in the footsteps of Jafar's Deathly Dagger. It deals 10 out of combat damage and has another effect on top. Instead of debuff, Venin Edge applies the prevent counterattacking status, and this is found on the Candlelight Staff or the Flash Plus Staff. Essentially, when a unit is inflicted by this status, they cannot make a counterattack, and this is pretty annoying in certain situations. Another way to remember it is that Venin Edge combines the Pain Plus Staff and the Flash Plus Staff into one weapon, and while it's not a heavy combat focused weapon, it offers utility and opens up some builds that no other unit can replicate. I really like the idea behind Venin Edge. It's not going to make Kemp a monster in combat, but it's what happens afterwards that makes it strong. We'll talk about a bunch of ways to utilize Venin Edge in this video, but first let's get back to the rest of Kemp's kit. He comes with Aegis as his special, blocks 50% of the next enemy attack if it's a ranged foe. His A skill is Fortress Res 3, grants a flat +5 resistance but inflicts -3 attack. Not really an ideal skill for Kemp, but he probably just has it and Aegis so that he can try to stop Reinhardt. Good luck with that. For an actually useful skill, his C skill is Savage Blow 3. After initiating combat, he inflicts 7 damage on all foes within 2 spaces. This indeed stacks with Venin Edge, so Kemp's main target will take 10 damage after a fight, but the surrounding enemies will all take 17 damage out of combat. Savage Blow is a great skill to keep and will probably be a staple on most builds since it works with Venin Edge so well. As for Fortress Res and Aegis, it's a nice meme to try and tank Reinhardt, but if we're being honest, these skills will probably be swapped out for something else. If you enjoy Kemp and want to give him a +1 merge, then normally he would get +1 HP and +1 defense. The neutral nature will then add an additional +1 HP, attack, and defense. Kemp will end up with 44 HP, 34 attack, and 29 defense. Adding a bit more physical bulk is nice, and remember Venin Edge also grants a flat +3 defense too. Now let's do some comparisons, and I'm going to get a little off track here. When I looked up our other Sword Cavaliers in the game, I was pretty surprised that we've only had one single free-to-play Sword Cav, and that's Xander. Usually when there's little free-to-play competition, I then turn to the easier to obtain 3 to 4 star units, and we have a decent number of those in this group. However, the really interesting thing is that every single Sword Cavalier has a unique weapon thanks to the refines for our older units. Crazy stuff, and that means that pretty much every Sword Cav has their own place on a team. With the Venin Edge, Kemp continues this streak, and he himself is pretty unique stat-wise as well, so he will be a really good reward unit in terms of being able to stand out. As mentioned, Xander is Kemp's only free-to-play competition, and he's a completely different type of unit. Siegfried is a distant counter weapon, and Xander is really slow with really low res, but extremely high defense. Kemp is way more balanced, and while his stats may be a bit middling, it allows for build flexibility depending on what a player wants. Another interesting tidbit is that Kemp is now the Sword Cavalier with the highest BST in the game. The previous winner was Sigurd, who received special treatment at the time of his release, and since then no other Sword Cav could beat him. In fact, out of all Cavaliers, only the newest Lance Cavs of recent times even beat Sigurd in BST, and I really do think it showcases that while other classes moved on in terms of power creep, they were too scared to do the same with the Cavalry class because of what happened with Reinhardt and even Brave Lyn. I think the same applies to skills because it became an issue as well. If we let Reinhardt use his skill, then what if it ends up being OP? Anyway, the game's moving on, so let's continue with the video. Kemp is toward the faster side of this group, believe it or not, so I wanted to compare him with other not super slow 3 to 4 star Sword Cavs. Kain, Seth, and Ares are kind of similar units with low 30 speed, decent defense but low resistance. Kemp not only is the fastest in terms of base speed, but his defense and res are much less lopsided, and with dragons being ever present these days, sacrificing all your res can be a bit dangerous. He technically power creeps Kain, but even then Kain has the bull blade to stand out, and Seth and Ares also have their own niches too. Eliwood is a clear outlier here with his low defense but good res, and while he has the weakest offensive stats here, he has Durando and even Blazing Durando, which I think is a super good weapon after it's refined. Main takeaway is that Kemp is a really solid sword cav if you want someone with a balanced stat line and can shape to your liking. Everyone in this group has unique weapons, so he won't straight up replace anyone, but since he has Venin Edge himself, Kemp will stand out just fine. For playstyle and builds, let's be honest with ourselves, Kemp only has Aegis and Fortress Res to try and stop Reinhardt, and we all know how that's going to end. I would heavily suggest replacing at least Fortress Res, but if you really want to keep it, then I'm not going to stop you. It will cut down his attack a little bit, and a regular 5-star Kemp will end up with 31 resistance. Savage Blow will be totally fine to keep on most Kemp builds, and it's great with Venin Edge to spread that 17 AoE chip damage when attacking. You can use the Savage Blow Sacred Seal to bump this up to 24 damage, which is really nasty. Another thing to consider is Poison Strike and stacking it as well. Poison Strike only hits Kemp's immediate target, while Savage Blow only hits the surrounding enemies. Venin Edge hits both, so you do have multiple ways to go about inflicting out of combat damage. If you double up on Poison Strike and if Kemp's target does not die, he will inflict a hefty 30 out of combat damage on them, which is substantial. To pair with Savage Blow or Poison Strike, I would suggest a more player phase build, and if we don't want to break the bank, there are some options. Getting some extra speed is really nice, so Darting Blow is helpful for that, or if you want extra defense, then Armored Blow is also available. Both are available as Sacred Seals, but for A skills, you can get the Steady Blow from Python for the speed and defense combo, or Sturdy Blow from Athena for the attack and defense combo. Pairing these with the Blow Sacred Seals would be helpful as well, and the added survivability can open the way for a fun drag back setup. If Kemp survives and his target lives, he can drag them backwards where an ally can finish them off without having to worry about their counterattacks. In general, having allies that can follow up on Kemp's initiations will be best to take advantage of the no counterattack status that Venin Edge is inflicting. Now, if you want Kemp to be a scary threat himself, then he will need some heavy investment, but the end results could be terrifying. Something that Jafar or Pain Plus healers cannot do is run Gale Force, and this special is really good at Venin Edge. After Kemp's initiation, Venin Edge applies its chip damage and then inflicts the no counterattacking status on everyone within 2 spaces. Should Gale Force activate, this then allows Kemp to freely hit any of those enemies and apply even more chip damage. If he can get Dance for a 3rd round of attacks, this just furthers the chaos. Gale Force plus Venin Edge is definitely a standout setup for Kemp, but it's not going to be easy to get going. 33 attack and speed ain't bad, but you really need to jack those numbers up because we need enough attack to proc Heavy Blade, and then we need enough speed to get a double. A really good but expensive combo is just to steal Sirius's base kit of attack and speed solo and low attack and speed. The low score negates enemy attack buffs, which is good, plus inflicts -3 attack on the enemy, so our chances of activating Heavy Blade are much better. Same goes for speed and getting follow-up attacks, and this is where attack and speed solo is just very powerful on Cavaliers. Additional skills include Swift Sparrow or going with the Fury plus Guard combo can be a cheap way to stop really strong enemy phase units. Obviously that combo will probably only work for the initial fight, but with this Gale Force setup, the plan is to sort of end things in one turn by completely crippling the enemy's HP. You can probably get away with lesser variants of this setup if you want to use Kemp for Rival Domains, Grand Conquest, or even the new Mjolnir Strike mode. In Mjolnir Strike, a Gale Force Kemp in the attacker slot could be hilarious. He may not be as crazy as an AoE special Spiral unit, but you can always just use both. For a setup that Kemp can copy from his predecessors, the Distant Counter plus Vanish set works nicely with Venin Edge and Double Savage Blow. Using this build on Jafar or healers with Close Counter instead, but the idea is to spread so much out of combat damage that Kemp will be able to take down who's left with a single Vantage Swipe. This setup is a little risky, and in PvP modes, any Hardy Bearing unit will shut it down. For PvE, it's definitely much safer if you plan to +10 Kemp, but to me, if Jafar can make it work with his much lower base attack, I don't see why Kemp can't do the same. To be fair, the range advantage can be very helpful with a Dancer. Still, if you want to run Gale Force here, then Kemp can be his own dancer, sort of, and the extra mobility might come in handy for getting to and from. Additionally, while not amazing with distant counter, the Wind or Water Sweep plus Phantom Speed combo is another possible build to copy. Kemp goes in, gets a free attack off, and spreads Venin Edge's damage. It's a neat interaction, but you really cut down on his actual fighting powers, so I wouldn't recommend it as a main build. It could be fun for PvP defense team strategies, however. Last, I didn't want to not mention that I think Venin Edge has some defensive potential as well. Stat-wise, Kemp can easily spec into more defense res or both, and just run quick riposte if that's what you want. He can even choose from the Barrier Blade, Safeguard Sword, or the new Guard Sword as well. That said, it's important to remember that Venin Edge applies both of its effects on the enemy phase as well. This means Kemp continues to deal out of combat damage and applies the no counterattack status, which will then persist for the player phase. This benefits distant counter builds as well. Overall, the more Kemp is able to survive, the more annoying Venin Edge becomes. Something like Fortress Defense and Res plus a low skill works on both phases, and if you can give him some field buffs, then he can become a problem. Obviously in PvP modes, leaving foes alive after a fight is dangerous, but in PvE content, it's a lot easier to survive multiple encounters. Just remember that for any build you give Kemp, Venin Edge does nothing during combat, it's what happens afterward that makes it unique. So should you 5-star Kemp? Well, he probably has the most balanced set of stats if you want to use a Sword Cavalier. 33 attack and speed aren't outstanding, but can get the job done with investment. His balanced defensive bulk is also a nice trait to have with all the nasty magic damage in the game, and it's also workable if you want to build defensively. For his base kit, Kemp's standout skill is his weapon. Venin Edge is totally unique, combining the effects of the Pain Plus and Flash Plus staff weapons. Fortress Res is okay to further increase Kemp's decent res stat, but it's not doing much for Venin Edge compared to other skill options. Savage Blow is totally fine though, since it does stack with Venin Edge for bigger AoE damage. Overall, Kemp is a neat little Grand Hero battle unit. I really like what he brings to the table. His only free-to-play competition is Xander, and both of them are completely different unit types. His stats are not min-max, but beat out some other Sword Cavaliers and allow for build flexibility depending on how you want to use him. Venin Edge is a really nice unique weapon, and it definitely gives Kemp his own niche. If you like Jafar or the Plain Plus healers, then Kemp is just another tool for you to use, and they can be really fun for PvE content. Kemp will probably shine brighter in modes like Rival Domains or Grand Conquest, where applying his chip damage plus no counterattacking status can help you siege the enemy base with the rest of your team. With Mjolnir Strike here as well, he may also be fun to use in the attacking slot to whittle away at the enemy's HP. As we discussed, there are some expensive ways to utilize Venin Edge to its fullest, but there are cheaper ways to still have fun with it. Kemp will be a good unit if you like Poison Strike or Savage Blow type builds, but if you're looking for a combative monster, then he won't bring anything special except his set of stats. He is a really neat unit, but it's not often we get one that focuses on not just killing things in front of them. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about Kemp and what you plan to do with him in the comments. I will 5-star a copy for myself because I loved using Jafar and Savage Blow, so Kemp will be another fun unit to try out. I'm going to be away for a couple days visiting family, so no videos from me, and unfortunately I'm going to miss the winter banner announcement. Sorry about that, but maybe we'll get a late video up after, and I also wanted to talk about the new double special hero banner. Some unlucky timing from me, but we'll see what happens after I get back. Have fun getting Kemp, and I'll see you guys next time.